Hello again. So now we're gonna taste some wine from our domain in the Roussillon, so still Bila-Haut. The first wine we're tasting is Occultum Lapidem, so a white wine made from Grenache Blanc and Grenache Gris. Could you maybe tell us a quick word about it?
Keep in mind that the Grenache Blanc and the Grenache Gris are two grapes which are coming from the red Grenache by mutation and evolution. And when the soil is good for red Grenache, the soil is good also for the white and the grey Grenache. And again, we are on a grape which is quite rich, which is not based on the acidity like you can find certain grapes. And that doesn't oblige us to make a very early vintage to have wine based on acidity. What we really look for here, again, is the touch of bitterness, the saltiness. What is amazing, because of the climate where there is no irrigation, we speak of a yield of 1 ton per acre, quite not more, which is very low for this price. Normally, when you see wine that's so low yield, the prices are much higher. And what is interesting, because of this low yield, on the middle of the tank, when you taste it, you feel the saltiness. All the mineral salt and oligo elements are concentrated because of the low yield.
In terms of wine making, would you approach the wine the same way as you're approaching the wine in the Rhone Valley?
The idea is always, the first thing, we don't make wine with cold fermentation because we look for the length. Wine has to play and to be married with food. Second term, to have a longer skin contact, we need to have a little warmer fermentation, not too warm, but the good temperature is the barrel fermented style. So we have a part in barrel fermented, but also we have a part in the tank, and we blend the two. And what is for us very important, keep in mind, we are working with sommelier. We created a French championship of student sommelier 25 years ago. So that means that our idea is really to make a wine to play with food. A rich wine like that will not go with oyster, for instance. We will speak of lobster, crayfish, but what is interesting, we will play also with spicy food. Don't play spice with red wine, because when you have a spice, it is a tannin migration, and the tannins of the spice are enemies of the tannins of the wines. So when you want to play with spicy food, you have to take a white wine, round with a low level of acidity. That's a perfect wine for that.
Perfect. So, well, I'm going to pour the reds. We just got the certification under Demeter, right in La Tour de France. Could you maybe tell us more about why you're going into biodynamic? When also did you start it in the Rhone Valley?
So in Rhone Valley, I started biodynamic in '91 because when I came back from the New World wines, I discovered people good in winemaking, very sharp in winemaking, but they didn't have the signature of terroir, the signature of soil. The strength of the old Europe is we have 20th century of advance for of the New World wines. And what is interesting, if we want this to be a truth and not a marketing purpose, that means that we need to have a live soil. And for this reason, we moved to biodynamic culture in '91. So we were probably the first in the Rhone Valley. The idea was finally to extract the minerality of the soil. I could say that a wine is an aromatic symphony. Each yeast will create the alcohol or make the fermentation with its own personal aromatic signature, each race of yeast. And the cocktail of different races of yeast, which means different aromas, is coming from the diversity of bacterial life in the soil. And for that you need to have a soil alive. When we say what is biodynamic or what is the comparison, I like to make a simple comparison. Chemical farming is I have a headache, I will take an aspirin. That means by the aspirin I will take care of the symptom but not of the disease. Organic, I will just replace the chemical molecule by a natural molecule. But I will be still curative, not preventive. That means, instead to take an aspirin, I will make a herb tea with a willow bark, where you find the aspirin in a natural molecule, and then I will take care of my pain. In biodynamics, then, the question will be more important than the answer. That will mean I have a headache. Why? Is it my blood pressure? Is it my cholesterol? And then I will work on the origin of the disease instead to work on the symptom. That the biodynamic is a medicine of not intuition. That is a medicine where I will consider the sensitivity of the plant. When I look for a comparison, biodynamic coming from anthroposophy, which is coming from theosophy. And I like the comparison. In medicine, we have the traditional Taoist Chinese medicine. It is exactly the same approach, where the energy is so important in biodynamics. The intention to the plant.
Okay. Would you say here biodynamics really show the wine at its best, and maybe you could speak about it, maybe about the touch of the tannin, the structure as well?
So the biodynamic permits to have a higher level, naturally a higher level of acidity, but because we work with wild yeast, with a high differences, a high selection, or natural selection, diversity of yeast. That means instead to have one dominant aromatic from one dominant family of yeast, because of the diversity of the population, you will have a diversity of taste. So you don't have a powerful aromatic dominant. You have a diversity. That's a complexity, like a perfume. When you taste the wine from biodynamics, you are always amazed because the nose very often is discrete. And then you have a crescendo between the nose, the taste, and the aftertaste, and the length.
And the Occultum Lapidem show it very well. We're going to taste a last wine now. It's l'Escarda. It's about 20 minutes away from La Tour de France. It's a bit higher in altitude, so we are about 500 meters higher. Why going higher in altitude? What was the reason?
To go, because at first we are on granite. Granite is vines are naturally born on limestone. It was in the middle of Europe. And what is interesting, the granite is not the natural soil for a vine. And the vine to stay alive on granite has to struggle. And what is interesting, when you taste a wine from granite, if you are on a low yield, here again we are on 1 ton per acre, that means you will have like the expression of the stone, like not a herb tea, a stone tea, like if you lick the stone. And we are on a Syrah grape, but the Syrah it plays very well with granite, but Syrah is a grape from the north of the Rhone. The birthplace of Syrah is Hermitage. So we compensate the climate by going high in altitude. And like that, the Syrah, we don't have the jammy. Because if you go too warm in Syrah, it's an interesting grape, but instead to give a Baroque style that will give a disco style. So the idea to go up in altitude, that is to compensate the latitude, because more in the south, in an average temperature.
So is that maybe a solution to global warming, you think?
Not totally. We can't answer only on this, because when you go more to the south, that means you go to the balance of the day and night. That means when you go more to the south, in summer, you will have some days which will be shorter. And that's not so good for the enzyme and hormones of the vines. So the best balance for the light periods is the 45th parallel, that is temperate, mid-distance between equator and North Pole, or equator and South Pole. Because there is not only the temperature, there is also the time of light and the reverse between winter and summer.
Right, thank you.